Christopher Powell. I'm an English teacher at Orchard Park Secondary School. I'm going to talk to you today about reading a graphic text. This is going to help you to prepare for the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test. One thing that's important to understand, the average person will read fewer than 100 books in their lifetime, but we still read all of the time. You might be putting something together that you purchased at IKEA, or flipping through a magazine, looking through the newspaper. And a lot of the time, the things that you're going to encounter are going to be what are called graphic texts, or sometimes referred to as infographics. Graphic texts are used for a variety of different purposes. It could be a diagram, such as a cross-section of a cruise ship, which outlines where all of the different decks are and the places where you may want to go in order to enjoy your stay on that ship. It could be a description of a process, where it shows the flow of a material as it's being created or produced. In any case, being able to understand how to read a graphic text is a very important skill in today's world, when people are probably reading fewer narratives, but are still out there having to process and analyze information on a daily basis. We're going to take a look at two different examples of graphic texts. The first one that we're going to take a look at is called How an Eco-Friendly Fish Farm Operates. Now, when you take a look at the initial picture here, for many people, the frustration may be that you don't know how to read it to begin. You're used to reading things from left to right, but if you start on the far left of this and try to move over to the right, there's obviously not a flow to the information. In fact, on the graphic itself, you can see that there are arrows, which indicates the process that's being outlined here. Many graphic texts are going to have some sort of visual feature or clue in order to help guide your eyes through the process so that you can read the description of things as you encounter them. The other thing worth noting about how a graphic text works is that the visuals that are in the graphic text will provide the proverbial 1,000 words that they say pictures oftentimes provide. In this one, for example, to just describe what fish tanks might look like, or where a filtration pond would be in relation to those fish tanks, or how the aeration pond relates to the filtration pond and then back to those fish tanks, it would be very laborious and cumbersome to do just with words. To present a picture and to label it with some arrows and explanations is going to help anybody to understand this process a little bit better. On the literacy test, you're normally going to be asked to answer a series of multiple choice questions with regard to whatever graphic text you have encountered. There are some important things to note about how multiple choice questions work on the literacy test. First and foremost, you must read them carefully. This is absolutely vital. The literacy test is not designed to trick anyone. It's not designed to mislead you into thinking that an incorrect answer is correct. But it is designed to test your capability to read precisely, to know exactly what it is that you're being asked, and to know exactly what answer you're supposed to identify. There is only one correct answer from the 4 possibilities that you're given with each question. Your task as a reader is to be able to look at the selection on which the questions are based, use the information that you've gained within it, to carefully read the question and to identify the correct response. Let's take a look at some of the questions based on the graphic text, How an Eco-Friendly Fish Farm Operates. Let's take a look at question number 1. This one asks, the arrows in this selection show that the water flows. Your options are A, through the ponds and out into the river, B, in a complete closed loop throughout the farm, C, from the fish tanks directly into the aeration pond, and D, from the filter tank directly back into the fish tanks. The correct answer is B. But let's take a look at the other possibilities in order to understand why B is the correct answer. A says through the ponds and out into the river. Well, at no point on this graphic text does it ever indicate that there's a river. So it wouldn't really make much sense to think that A would be the correct one. C says from the fish tanks directly into the aeration pond. Again, if you take a look at the flow of arrows, there is no flow directly from the fish tanks into the aeration pond. In fact, from the fish tanks, it's going to go into the filter tank and then to the filtration pond and then to the aeration pond. D says from the filter tank directly back into the fish tanks. And again, if you take a look, follow the arrows, the filter tank goes to the filtration pond then to the aeration pond, then back through the pump into the fish tanks. So B is the correct answer for question number 1. Okay. Let's take a look at another example of a graphic text. This one is the Sportsplex Stadium preliminary design proposal submitted to City Council. And as you take a look at it, there's quite a bit of information here to go through with your eyes. At the top, there is a bit of an introduction. It's in italics. It says the first drawing should give you an idea of the design for a multi-purpose sports facility. I will be happy to discuss hiring an engineer to develop a drawing to scale that will include the structure of the stadium's frame. I am looking forward to future discussions with you about design details and cost. Respectfully, N. Gilmore, Architect. Underneath that is a diagram outlining the basic footprint of the stadium. And then underneath that is a legend, along with some cost considerations. Let's take a look at a couple of example questions. Question number 1 asks, the purpose of the italicized text under the title is to provide A, a reason to hire an engineer, B, an explanation of the structure, C, an introduction to the proposal, and D, an overview of the design details. I had to go back and really rethink this one in order to be able to identify the correct answer. And the correct answer is C, an introduction to the proposal. But why? A says a reason to hire an engineer. In here it actually states, I will be happy to discuss hiring an engineer to develop a drawing. Well, the engineer would be hired to develop a drawing. That part is specifically outlined already, so there's no explanation there about trying to come up with a reason to hire an engineer. It's already outlined. B says an explanation of the structure. Well, this isn't a description of any sort of the structure of the stadium. It's only the bird's eye view, the overhead shot. So there's no reason to consider the explanation of the structure. D says an overview of the design details. But the last statement on this italicized selection says, I'm looking forward to future discussions with you about design details and cost, which means that the design details aren't really being considered at this point. So the correct answer is C, an introduction to the proposal, which you can also identify because of the title, Sportsplex Stadium Preliminary Design Proposal submitted to City Council. Let's look ahead to number 5. Number 5 says, on which side of the stadium is the parking located? This is one of those things that actually requires prior knowledge. The correct answer is D, it's west. You're going to know that if you actually understand how a compass works, where north is at the top and south would be at the bottom, west is left, east is right. For some people, that sort of prior knowledge may not necessarily come easily, but this is another reason why English teachers are always suggesting to students that they should read more. The more you read, the more of this sort of knowledge you're going to acquire. It's only going to help you when you prepare for the literacy test. Let's take a look at question number 6. Question number 6 asks, which of the following details does N. Gilmore expect to be a topic for future discussions with City Council? This is an interesting question. The last statement says, I'm looking forward to future discussions with you about design details and cost, which means now you actually have to process and analyze this information to figure out which details may relate to design details and cost. Well, if you take a look at the information that's provided, under the cost considerations, where it says no cost, it says land donation, value of 1.2 million, which means that A, the purchase of land, isn't going to be the correct answer. That's already been considered. The availability of parking. Again, it says that there's an existing municipal parking lot. Parking is already considered, so B is not going to be the correct answer. C refers to the number of video screens, but again, on this proposal, it indicates that there would be video screens on both the east and west sides of the stadium. That looks like it's covered as well, which means that the only possible remaining answer is D, the cost of including VIP box seats. This is part of the strategy that you can employ in order to successfully answer multiple choice questions. If you are able to identify the answers that are obviously wrong, then the only one that's left over must therefore be correct. These videos are designed to help students prepare for the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test. If you have additional questions, please make sure that you ask your English teacher or visit the EQAO website, which can be found on the links attached to the end of this video. Thanks.